Hey, anytime you can come into a show and they're talking about the Bilderberg Group in the first 5 minutes, man, you know you're going to have a good time.
Jack, last time you were on, we briefly touched upon Iran, and of course now it's right back in the news.
That's good stuff.
I don't think Iran ever does leave the news. They seem to be our boogeyman here in Oceania, here at NATO. And, they're our Goldstein, and I think that the powers that be kind of like it that way sometimes. But it's funny because this whole deal, which was, I thought, complete, nonsense. Let me be nice and not use swear words on the radio. But the whole thing is really a giant scam. And I believe it was meant to come apart. And here we are already in the 11th hour or the 12th hour, and it's already coming apart. So I thought they might wait a year before turning them into a rock for disobeying the nuclear inspectors or whatever excuse it might be. But the whole thing looks really fishy, a little good cop, bad cop action at the New World Order level.
I think you got it completely correct, Jack.
They were saying that this would cause some kind of a rush to get nukes in the neighborhood. Well, the neighborhood already has nukes, number one. And number two, it does open the door for massive profits by the usual suspects. And the third, and I think the most important thing to know about the whole plan that Obama is taking credit for, and Skull and Bones, Long Devil John Kerry, these crooks, traitors, and criminals, is really, when it comes down to it, the good cop over the bad cop. And all of this was spelled out in a Brookings institution. These guys are like the Council on Foreign Relations, the Bilderberg Group. They're a major think tank. And they'd written a paper just a couple of years ago, Which Path to Persia. I highly recommend people read that if they want to know what the plan is, because we do need to get an international coalition and consensus. We just can't go in and bomb Iran. And so they've got to do something wrong. And this is a complete replay of the playbook back when Saddam Hussein wouldn't allow weapons inspectors to go in. In fact, we knew one of them guys, Scott Ritter, who told us exactly what happened there. And the thing was a massive setup. So once they blow the deal, which it looks like they're already ready to do almost, because there's already some rhetoric going back and forth, a little war of words here and some threats. As soon as they don't let inspectors in, as soon as they don't capitulate to the fine details of this agreement, which they had nothing to lose to take, then the coalition will have the blessing of the international community to go in and do something much more strict than breakable sanctions. So the whole thing's just a giant setup, but there can always be, you never know, there can always be having this thing backfire and having the people of the world say, hey, let's have it peaceful. Let's try to find peaceful ways. We want that. We don't want to go back to, John McCain, bomb Iran, which, is a little overdue. So now if you want to know why we need Iran and why it's an important piece in the grand chessboard and what its geopolitical significance is, that's another conversation. But as far as the deal goes, it's as reptilian and snaky as any other international deal you'll see out
there. It's not surprising. I mean, when we look back at the history of Planned Parenthood and the beginnings of Planned Parenthood with Margaret Sanger, who was a horrible eugenicist, hated black people, hated Jews, hated just about all minorities. That was the inception of Planned Parenthood. So that it's come to this from there, I'm not surprised at all. What I'm surprised is I was flipping through channels this week, and I actually saw somebody on Fox News, which I would write that FAUX News, right? But on Fox News, they actually were talking about the foundation of Planned Parenthood being Margaret Sanger, who was a known eugenicist. So I'm surprised that they actually went back that far and shared at least that much truth. But in the end, what's going on now with these body parts being hawked is not surprising in light of the beginning of Planned Parenthood with Margaret Sanger. I mean, it's disgusting, but it's not surprising to me.
When they say pro-choice, I mean a woman's right to choose, but then when it comes to like guns, they don't want pro-choice, a person's right to choose gun.
Look, but it is so selective. It is so double standard. It is so willy-nilly on this choice. Because I just interviewed a girl, a young lady, 2 weeks ago. I flew to Texas, and this is for the next documentary I'm doing called A Global Quest, The Truth About Cancer, A Global Quest. Her name's Cassandra C., and you've heard about her. She was a 17-year-old from Connecticut that was forced to do chemotherapy against her wishes, against her mother's wishes, because she was not yet 18, and the state deemed that for non-Hodgkin's lymphoma that chemotherapy was the best choice, and she would do it whether she liked it or not. Where did her choice go? She could have gotten an abortion in that state, but she can't choose not to be poisoned with chemotherapy. So it's a very subjective choice that women have today. They can choose to abort their babies, but they cannot choose what treatment they do for cancer if they're under the age of 18. I think that's a double standard, and I think it's disgusting what they did to Cassandra. I don't know if you saw that interview. That was the first video interview that she had given anybody. She's had the major stations after her, but she gave it to us because she trusted us and she knew that we would share the whole story and not kind of cut and paste and make it look like she was saying something that she wasn't.
And I appreciate that, because just dealing with, I love that we just deal basically with the truth, because dealing with some of the pastors, and I was talking about Hillary Clinton receiving the Margaret Sanger Award and how she was praising her for her tenacity and her, everything about Margaret Sanger. And a lot of them don't know about Margaret Sanger. They just thought it was an award that Hillary Clinton was receiving. I'm like, sir, I respect your position, but do you know what the Margaret Sanger Award, do you know Margaret Sanger? And when I explain it to them, some of them start scratching their heads, but a lot of them don't care. They just enjoy the power position. And I understand why the Bible says some of them are hirelings. They don't care about the people. They just want the position and the money.
Right.
But the ones who have a heart, you can see that it touches them. See, because
with Margaret Sanger, one of her most renowned quotes is that we don't want people to realize that we want to exterminate the Negro population. That's a quote from her in one of her memoirs. That she admitted they want to kill the black people, and it's just disgusting. One of her other quotes that I'm remembering, and I'm going to try to get it right. It was something to the effect that the most merciful thing that a large family can do to one of its infants is to kill it.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is not a nice lady. So I guess Hillary. I guess I would vote for Hillary to get the Margaret Sanger Award. They fit. They're a good pair.
I would just say that, in this day and age of modern biosciences, there are ways to create stem cells, though people are worried about the ethics of that. I just think there's a huge slush fund here going into taking these body parts from the abortion clinics via Planned Parenthood. The government sponsors and pays for Planned Parenthood. They obviously have approved this. They're not going out the back door here, okay, because that's biohazard material. And so, they're all in on it. And I just find it amazing, regarding your last caller, that we have the technology to create stem cells on their own, but we're taking them in this kind of a barbaric fashion because it's more ethical. It's more ethical if you don't know about it. I personally think that if they're going to do this, then just get the permission. Then what are you hiding? Then why did you hide? And by the way, this isn't the first time this has happened. Okay? It happened, 5-10 years ago. They got caught doing the same thing. So obviously it didn't get any better. I really think that we need to cut the state funding. If there's support for this, and there is huge support for it, it can be funded privately. Okay, I feel the same way about PBS and National Public Radio and all the rest of that too. And that if it's stem cells that we need, then we should be able to go ahead and get past whatever primitive thoughts we have about life and death and create those stem cells, because they are saving people's lives. They can help people. Technology is a double-edged sword. Let's make sure we're on the right edge of it. And I'll just stop there, I guess.
Yeah, and I'll use the stem cells as a nice segue to kind of change the topic, but still stay on the same topic about stem cells and cancer. Those are the boogers, and so I just want to educate people that are listening. When you see people that are getting chemotherapy and they seem to go in remission for a while, kind of like Cassandra did, and then it comes back later. The reason that it comes back is because the chemotherapy not only destroys the immune system, which is our own way to protect our bodies, but the chemotherapy on recent studies over the last couple of years has been shown to enrich cancer stem cells. So it actually makes them stronger, so that these mother stem cells can give birth to more daughter cells, and the tumors continue to grow bigger after that, because chemo enriches the stem cells. Those are the boogers that we want to get rid of if we want to take care of cancer and to be able to control the cancer. So, Charlie, thanks for the question. I just wanted to use that as a segue to kind of educate people about the stem cells. And there are things that you can take that are natural substances that do target cancer stem cells, whereas chemotherapy does not. It just enriches them. But green tea, ellagic acid is found in raspberries, quercetin, curcumin. You know, we've all heard of turmeric or curcumin, the curry. That actually will target and kill cancer stem cells, or will make your immune system stronger, so they can do that. But there are natural things that you can do to strengthen your body so that you can take care of cancer stem cells. That's the only way that you'll have a long-term remission from cancer, is if you're doing a treatment that will hit the stem cells.
Jack, have you, or Ty, either of you, have you seen any furtherance of trying to control the internet even more and more?
What we see a lot is Charlene does a lot of posting for the Truth About Cancer on Facebook. Okay, and anytime we post anything about that's controversial, which most of the time, which is vaccines. Okay, if we post anything that's vaccine related, it gets killed, man. It gets censored. It's Facebook stop. We'll get hundreds of emails from people. We have like almost 200,000 people that follow us on Facebook on the Truth About Cancer, and they'll email and say, I tried to share, and there's no share button. I wanted to share that vaccine article. There's no share button. They took it away. I mean, hundreds of people will contact us every time we put up a controversial article. So, yeah, there's some censorship out there.
And see, people don't realize how this is going to get worse and worse with this internet control. People say that won't hurt them, but it's.
Well, I just bring it up because that's the last bastion of freedom of trying to get some actual truth as far as the news goes.
I think what's important to point out in that is when we're talking about what you post on Facebook, it is, I think, to most people, they would think that's a private company, and a private company has a right to negotiate its property and to, I guess, negotiate its members any way it wants, its customers, and you may not like it, and you can boycott it, and that's that. The problem with all of the social medias, and by the way, all the telecoms, is that they are so intertwined in the revolving door of Washington, D.C. and Wall Street, but particularly government, that they have become non-governmental organizations or quasi-government organizations. And Facebook itself was started with Bilderberg money, but it was started with CIA money. It has your tax money in it. And so while it isn't direct censorship from the government, it is, again, your right to go there or not go there. It's certainly different than what we're going to see coming down the pike with the Internet. All the pieces are in place for the Internet Pearl Harbor, or the Cyber Pearl Harbor, folks. It'll be the Cyber 9/11, and everything they're putting in place, from putting Ashton Carter in charge of as Secretary of Defense, by putting Loretta Lynch in charge of the Department of Justice, by these constant false flags that China has hacked to Sony, which was complete BS, and even Wired had figured out that was an inside job. To all of the false flags and the fear-mongering, going with the hacking this and the hacking that and the loss of information, and only we can protect you, to, I think most specifically, this recent FCC decision. They pushed for it. Obama pushed for it. And liberty-loving people went for it. And that is this recent Net Neutrality Act, which was supposed to stop the telecoms from doing horrible things to you, but when, in a sense, was a almost reward. So again, it's just the opposite of what they're telling us it is. Tom Wheeler used to work for the big telecom companies, and now he's the head of the FCC, and all of a sudden he wants to stop the telecom companies. No, they don't. So these people are almost interchangeable, and the future of it is complete taking over and enforcement of all copyrights, which can affect every one of us that have a website and put a link up or put a few words to a story there or a picture that you might borrow from somewhere. It will be a complete takeover on that level. And the worst part about it is if you do not comply to the new Internet that will be coming after the Internet Pearl Harbor, they have by the way, the Internet Patriot Act is already written, they say. For years it's been written, just like the real Patriot Act was written before 9/11, which was rather obvious because it was thousands of pages, and they just plopped it down the table, said to the House and the Senate, don't read it, just sign it or you're a traitor. And it's the same thing here. But the worst part about it is that if you're not in compliance to the Internet, they think you could be dangerous, you could spread a virus, that you somehow will be a security leak on the Internet. They could just say, no website for you until you're in compliance. So that's where it is going.
this is so sad because it